Okay, so we've been discussing about the traction and the tempo factor in growth journey. Yesterday, we looked at the true meaning of success, and to build upon that, we need to understand the psychology behind how we can maintain continuous progression in the way we achieve traction or gain traction and ensure tempo in attainment of success. And I would like to introduce mindfulness practices to us, focusing on how we can reduce stress, because I've come to realize that stress is one of the things that militate against our progressive action towards success, and how we can always maintain control. Yesterday I mentioned it, how you can constantly maintain control in terms of assuring yourself you have balance. So how can you stay in charge? So these are some of the things that we're going to be exploring. Mindfulness is a very huge field, is a very large field, but I don't want to go into all the dynamics and all the theoretical path of the subject. I just want to go straight to share with you what I have been able to apply in my life and help over the years. So first of all, let's look at the true meaning of mindfulness. For me, mindfulness is you always having the sense of the present. I mentioned it yesterday when we were talking about success, that people can be lost in the past glory. So they are living in the past, whereas they're in the present. Okay, so there is no way you can talk about success, because success has to do with the present, not the past. Your past glory is in the past and can totally be irrelevant to the present. So there is a way you need to comport your life. You need to get hold of yourself in such a way that you are always mindful. You are cognizant. You are taking cognitive. You are using cognitive ability to have a control of the present. So this is what mindfulness is all about. Whichever direction you understand it in psychology, either from the spiritual perspective, from the medical perspective, or from the natural perspective, you have, because you have what nature would tell us about mindfulness. I'm sure you must have heard the forces of nature. Can you give me examples of forces of nature or forces in nature? What are the natural forces of nature? Anyone? Today is going to be very interactive, because part of what I'm sharing with you are things that you should relate easily with. So I'm not teaching any theory. So what are forces in nature? Anyone? What's the first force I can remember?
Mm, is it the air,
Uh,
water,
Aha. Thank you, Favo. Air, water, what else?
wind, fire?
we-
Yeah,
rain, okay.
yeah,
Living
correct.
too.
Correct. Correct. Interesting. You must have seen my mind, and you must have seen my slide. Favor. I'm just kidding. These are examples of forces in nature. You have the hair. That's why you hear airbender. How can someone use his or her mind to control hair? Okay. Then you have the fire, you have the wind, of course, still talking about hair. Then you have water. These are powerful elements of nature. In fact, it is given that, I mean, if you remember biology, there is a percentage amount of the constituent of human body that has to do with water. Okay, there's a part of your body that is made up of water. So there's something so powerful about life, that if you're able to harness this thing from that dimension, right? It can make things to work in the trajectory or in the direction of your purpose. So having that ability in order for you to be able to put a control, a total control over your life, to be focused on the present, is what mindfulness is all about. That's what is called mindfulness. So how then do you gain the control? How do you channel the power that you are nursing for the control to help you achieve the focus? That's what mindfulness is all about. So it begins from self-awareness. It begins from self-awareness. So you see that all these things are still connected to all the principles and the subjects we've discussed about. We talk about purpose, we talk about self-awareness. If you have missed all this and you have not been able to align strictly with them, it will be very difficult for you to practice mindfulness. So the awareness is going to enable you to, self-awareness help you to a large extent. You are able to, through discernment, through the control of your mind, as you also try to understand other people's emotion to be able to also help them control, you know, because self-awareness leads to self-control. So all this comes together to help you govern the way you direct your energy towards, your energy in terms of focus now, towards the present. The present. Sometimes you have done things in the past and, you are being haunted by those things in form of maybe memories or flashes, or you're just having these trances and all of that. How do you ensure that? Or it might even be as a result of health challenges. You are just having these maybe migraine or something, and you are seeing deja vu. You're having some kind of negative thoughts. So how do you govern all of these things and ensure that it does not affect your focus on the present? Is what mindfulness is all about. So you need to be rest assured that you have a full grip on what your purpose is. Okay, you have to have a full grip of what your purpose is. It's like someone who have already crammed a lot of things on the head, and then you are now regurgitating. You are reciting, number one, number two, number three, number four, number five, number six, number seven, number eight. You keep reciting something like that. So it helps you pull off any form of distraction. It enhances your focus. And then you can now be able to channel the kind of energy that comes forth from that progressive build-up of the kinetic into the present. Okay, so you'll see that I'll be making emphasis on how you make the balance of your mindset. So inside of you, don't forget, seated on your brain, on human brain, maybe you should do a little bit of dissecting. Within human brain, you have different parts. You have the frontal part, you have the mid part, and you have the rear parts, right? So there are different aspects of this brain that functions and enable total ability of human beings. The particular path that has to do with this mindfulness, which is the seat of human emotions, is the one that is at the center, the one they call amygdala. I hope you still remember biology, right? Is that part that they call amygdala? So how you, I still remember when we used to draw, the human brain, where that amygdala is, which is also very close to, I've forgotten the name of the other path, which is around that central and moving close to the rear. And this amygdala has like a two not cylindrical now, almost like an oval shape, kind of joining together to form just one single element. And all of I'm not going to go into all those technical and medical sciences and all of that. The important thing is you need to know all these path, all these functional elements of yourself and be able to govern them. When someone behaves out of the governing system of his life, that's when you see the act of foolishness, okay, or what we call misdemeanor, misbehavior. Maybe the person is under undue influence. You know, when you see someone who is given to drugs, drug addiction, or any other form of addiction that takes undue control of his or her life, that is where the whole effect starts from. You know, the person is having ungovernable appearances from within their amygdala. So undue emotion starts erupting. And the person can misbehave, can just do things irrationally, and all of that. The person does not have control about of his amygdala. So how you have that full control and then channel the energy that comes from the process by which you take the control of that amygdala, right, is what we call mindfulness. And you do these things, you know, through certain practices. Is just one of the several practices that I'm going to share with you, which is what I have done and I'm doing over the years, right? Anyone that is going to live a fulfilled life, anyone that is going to fulfill purpose in one way or the other must find a way to connect to practice mindfulness. So the one that you now practice now depends on you. Maybe you're going to be doing yoga, like some do yoga. Some they will tell you that they are doing, you know, in Buddhism. You have all these Taoism, you know, Siddhism, all this stuff. I mean, you see them even in those world religions, how they maintain focus in order to connect to the forces of nature, you know. So what are the benefits of this mindfulness? I think we should also dive in there before I tell you just one practice, and then we'll now use that one to kind of like narrow down all the uh, critical things I want you to learn from what I have practiced over the years. The first benefit has to do with how you're able to increase your resilience against stress. See, whether you like it or not, as long as you're going to live in this part of the world, stress is nature to us. You see why they say naturally an African is aggressive. I think it was I forgot the name of this guy. I mean, one of the um, on hair personality and compare, you know, stand-up comedian, you know, born in South Africa and is a very popular I mean, is a very popular globally recognized compare, you know, MC was saying recently that how you would be able to know a Nigerian from any other African is the way we speak. When we're talking, our level of, I mean, the intonation of our communication language is so profound. Like we always make emphasis, even some of our alphabets have some kind of emphatic indecent in them. You know, like you have the B, you have the sh, you know, so there's this kind of emphasis, there's this kind of impression that our language, our communication in language, you know, gives. So it was just speaking just that you see different from different languages they speak, and you hear Nigeria, you know that, oh, this one is from Nigeria just because of the way he speaks. You know, give that stress, put the stress. So it's just an interpretation of the experience we have in these our own local environments. You wake up every morning as you commute, as you move around, you know, everything depicts stress. You need to contend on a daily basis with stress. So how do you undo that and ensure that you don't lose control of yourself? You are inside the mood and you see the way the conductor is misbehaving, or even the passengers. There's always this aggression. There's always this, you know, instigation of, I mean, provocation that results into aggression or expression and experiences of aggression. So how do you deal with this? So one of the quick ways by which you can undo aggression that is stress induced or any form of disease that is stress induced, because sometimes when you have a headache, you have migraine, some of these things are just stress induced sicknesses. And you don't necessarily need drugs and all of that. So how then do you deal with some of these things? Mindfulness is a short way to do it. So if you are someone that you don't like taking drugs, blah, 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 and all of that, I'm giving you a secret today. I'm not a licensed clinical, I mean, sorry, a licensed medical doctor, but these are things you can find out from people That's why I said I hope Dr. Falashade is going to help me validate some of these things medically. The second one has to do with the issue of how you regulate your emotions. Okay, mindfulness help you to put a proper control to emotions. For those of you who have read Tim LaHalle's book, this is one of the things that in the other book, because there is mindfulness book that is attached to. So if you have finished that book, another book you need to read has to do with mindfulness, because to be able to have full control of your self-awareness, those combination of dominant traits that you have, you need to learn mindfulness in order for you to be able to know how to regulate, to self-regulate. You don't need situations, you don't need circumstances, you don't need external factors, people as engaged to help you in that regulation. You need to, find a way by which you constructively regulate yourself so that you are proactive, not reactive. You see, when someone is always reacting to things, it's because the person does not have proper regulation. So mindfulness will help you to begin to build that on a progressive way. I mean, in a progressive manner. Then the third one talks about your progressive self-awareness. Think you know yourself. Don't forget you have 4 paths: your known self, unknown self, blind self, and then the revealed self. So how do you get to holistically, progressively come to terms with the reality of who you are? Mindfulness will help you to, because there is a depth in you that you cannot connect with until when you have gotten to the level of, to a certain level of attention, a certain level of focus. Things you see on a daily basis, you won't know how deep those things are when it comes to essence until when you have given it a deeper thought. That's why they will say, deep, think deep, right? So, but let me just drop it there because we're going to have more emphasis on some of these benefits and advantages. Then the fourth one has to do with the wellness, the well-being benefits, because it helps you to reduce stress. All the stress-induced sicknesses automatically are going to be erased, including migraine. This is one that is so common with me, right? Including migraine. It's going to help you deal with this. I think you are always having head block, because you deal with so many issues on a daily basis with dealing with different human beings. And, part of things that causes migraine is because of you clogging your mind over too many things, and sometimes maybe if blood does not even have a good pathway of flowing through your brain, you just be having those punches of headache, and if it persists, it's bad. Okay, so mindfulness will help you to address this, and it will also enhance your immunity level. All these things might sound like a miracle, but these are things that God has embedded in nature that we need to connect with. Okay, and when I show you the practice that I have engaged in over the years and I'm still making use of, you see that as much as God has put this in nature, He has also orchestrated an easy way for us to connect with it. Okay, then the fifth one has to do with how you grow towards empathy. Empathy, to some, is not natural. You need to learn it. What I mean by that is your dominant trait or dominant feature has nothing to do with empathy, but yet you need empathy for you to be able to successfully relate with people, for you to achieve your purpose in terms of you becoming compassionate and not sympathetic. There's a difference between empathy and sympathy. Okay. One has in it a future of humanity, while the other one has in it a future of interest. Okay. Sympathy is more interest driven, while empathy is purpose driven. Okay. It's purpose driven. So, in order for you to pursue and achieve your purpose, you need to be empathetic. You need to be empathetic. You need to be able to get to a point whereby you can condescend to any point in time in order for you to be able to gain value or deliver value. Either you are going to be impacted or you are impacting. So these are what empathy means. When someone is saying that he wants to be in your shoes, you need to see where the shoe actually pinches. You want to actually know how it feels like to be in this state condition, so that you can learn what it means, to be able to impact. So these are the quick benefits you can see. There are so many other benefits, still talking about, you being able to improve on your confidence level. Mindfulness help you because at that level, there are certain things that you'll be seeing that will, instill in you deeper convictions. So it boosts your morale, it boosts your confidence level, it gives you a deeper level of audacity. When you see someone that is so audacious, it's because of the point at which they have engaged in mindfulness. Okay. So let me now show you, you know, how I have been able to engage in this over the years. There are so many practices, like I mentioned to you, but the one that I have been able to practice, I've adopted as my own mindfulness practice over the years is what I call meditation. Meditation is a type of mindfulness practice. You have so many of them, like I told you, yoga. You have there's even one that they do in the what's it called? What's the name of this uh, religion? I mean, let me not go into world religion and start introducing what is not to us in terms of theoretical knowledge, because I don't practice them, even though I know them, but I don't practice them. So when you are trying to do further study and you are reading, be mindful of the kind of knowledge you are going to acquire about these things, right? So let's focus attention on mindfulness. On meditation. I'm going to explain to you quickly what meditation simply means, but I've been able to simplify my practice of meditation in two ways. Number one, using the Joshua principle, and second one, using the Pauline principle. And then I'll be able to now give you an assignment on how you can begin to practice, an effective meditation. So, what exactly is meditation? Meditation is how you're able to train yourself in gaining full attention and becoming more aware about the present. Okay. There are certain things that when you're meditating, it helps you to govern not just only your behavior, but your mind. Okay. It comes from inner. If you are able to have a control from within, you can easily have a control without. Okay. So it's more of a mental clearance, a mental clarity you are having. Sometimes your head is just so full with so many things, or you're in danger. I think the easy one that usually relate with each and every one of us is when we're in danger, when you are under duress, when you are going through some moment of anxiety. How do you escape from those moments without being beaten? How do you escape from those moments? If another one happened to me today, on my job, because this is on record, I might not be able to talk about it in details, but went through a serious, anxious moment to experience today. And it's almost going to be like the whole world is going to collapse on me. Imagine something you've been building for years, for months, and just one threatening situation or threatening action was just taken, and it's just going to be like, it's going to be the end. But how, when you find yourself in such a situation, how do you get control of yourself? One, so that you don't misbehave. Two, so that you don't take wrong decisions, because this is what many people fall victim of. In those vulnerable moments, those situations, anxious moments, worrisome circumstances, they make you become very thinly vulnerable. So if care is not taken, if you don't have control of your attention, you don't have focus on purpose, chances are that you misbehave, you make wrong judgments, right? And then you are going to make wrong decisions. So how do you ensure that you don't fall victim of this? Because this is what life will keep blowing on you on a continuous basis as you move across, as you journey on progressively. So there is a Joshua principle and there's also the Pauline principle. And I'm going to quickly explain this to you. So don't forget, meditation, it helps you, is what enables you to have that full attention in spite, not mindful of what is happening or the circumstances of your environment. You are able to gain that attention and full control, about your awareness of your environment. And then you have clarity in your thinking. So that's what meditation is all about. So let's look at these two principles and using the scriptures, of course, because they are based in the scriptures. The first model has to do with what you see in Joshua chapter 1, verse 8, which says that this book of law must not depart from your mouth. Meditate on it day and night, for you prosper and succeed. You see, that's how success comes. True success, you succeed in all you do. Success does not precede mindfulness, right? Mindfulness precedes success because you must be able to have a full control of how you govern yourself. Imagine if I've misbehaved or misjudged when everybody were agitated, people were like, and it seems it's even back to back circumstances. And it's like, how are we going to get control, blah, 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 and all of that. Since morning, everything almost like is going to turn all over against the progress, the tide of things. But right there, taking time to just think about the fact that there are certain things you don't have control over. And this is what vulnerability means. You are vulnerable because you have control. So you are exposed, right? At that subtle moment, even if someone touches you and pushes you down, chances are you can fall because you are just that vulnerable, right? So what do you do? What do you do? So if you look at what this Joshua principle is talking about, the way you make utterances, the way you speak matters because for you to be able to make certain utterances, for you to be able to say certain things in such situation, such anxious and tempestuous moments, as it were, right? Your vulnerable moments, you must have fed your mind with certain things because at that moment is whatever is in your mind that comes forth. We call such reflex action. You don't think when you're speaking. So how are you able to govern yourself in such a way that you determine what comes forth from you? Is a power of meditation. Let me give you a very good example. How I personally was able to meditate, was able to maneuver through the situation today was I started remembering some scriptures that were in my mind that reminded me of if I'm going through this kind of situation, this is exactly what will be the outcome. And guess what I did? Rather than focusing on those situations, I was just focusing on the scripture. I was just reminding myself, I was just saying it. I was just reminding myself. And sometimes you don't necessarily have to say it out. You don't need to. I remember part of the people that were in the meeting when we were having those decisions, blah, blah, blah. There's one Muslim, there's another guy that is Syrian, who is not even, he's an atheist and all of that. So I couldn't have that moment saying things. Immediately I got my balance. Guess what I did? I just cracked a joke and I told them about a similar project that we've done almost about 6 years ago that we ran into similar because it was because of the attention I gave myself and reminded myself about those scriptures. And this thing just happened within few minutes. Everybody were talking. I just zeroed off myself away from that problem. Stop thinking about it because at that moment, there's nothing I could do to solve the problem. So I just took my attention away from what they were discussing and just focused on those scriptures that came to my mind. And right there, God just reminded me about that project we did about 6 years ago. And immediately I cracked it as a joke. Everybody just laughed. Everybody just laughed. They're like, oh, that project, oh, that's true. This, that. And by the time we were done cracking jokes around it, the solution just came. They're like, okay, this was it. And that's it. So what could have been a bad day for me? I'm just telling you what happened this very day, today. What could have been a very bad day ended up turning out to be a good win. And I can come here to tell you with a smile. So this is exactly what this Joshua 1:8 is talking about. Imagine if I didn't have any superior word, these scriptures in my mind that I could focus on. For some, it might be a book that you've read, and it keeps striking. Sometimes you've listened to a message. I keep telling you about Ravi Zacharias, I keep telling you about Miles Morrow, I keep telling you about this. It might just be those resonating words that you've listened to from them that connect to the essence of your situation. You need to keep your mind focused on those things, and it will help you navigate through those challenges. So this is one of the ways by which you can, exercise the power of meditation. And you don't want to wait. It's just like a soldier, who has been enlisted and commissioned. You don't wait until the day of battle before you actually prepare for how you want to fight your war. The best time to prepare is when there is no even war, where there is no imminent war at all. And guess what? You just have to always prepare. That's one of the motto. You have to always be prepared. As a soldier, you have to always prepare because war can happen anytime. So there won't be any other time to prepare other than now. So that's exactly what meditation does. Means to you too. If you have never been meditating before, now is the time for you to start meditating, because that is one of the things that you need as a weapon for you to fight against stress, for you to fight against anxiety, for you to fight against your vulnerability. Those things that you meditated on, God help you if they are positive things, they are constructive things. That's why I'm showing you this in the scriptures, because if you take those positive things in the scriptures as what fills your mind, trust me, when you need to pull forth some lines, those are the things that will come forth. When you need to open your mouth to talk, that's when. It got to a point when we're cracking jokes that I don't want to mention names because we're a record. You know, the person who happens to be a Muslim among us just mentioned one pastor, that was ridiculed, many years ago because of that particular project and because of his misbehavior. It was so painful. I still remember vividly our experience on that project. And it was a pastor that gave us, someone who popularly supposed to be a pastor is the one that gave us a bad experience on that project. And then I'll now tell him, I said, oh, okay, thankfully, it's not even your title that will actually give you a recognition with God. And everybody laughed again. I said, so if pastor messed up, there are so many other people who also believe in the same faith who hasn't messed up and all of that. So it's important that you learn this. It's just a very simple practice, but hey, it's something you have to have built upon yourself. Another way that I also help myself in learning some of these scriptures or stuff is, we have different ways by which we assimilate things. We have, just imagine when you are studying your book for an exam or something, how do you read to remember? Because it's about reading to remember, because the time you will need it, you need to remember. If I didn't remember some of these things today, it will have been helpless. It will have been a useless effort. So you have to find that connect on how you can read to remember. Either it's going to be by writing down, jotting down, or scribbling on the walls, or putting them in graphics, whatever way. It's important that you read to remember and put it in your mind, so that when you need to pull it forth through meditation, you'll be able to bring it. And meditation is just a very small time. It's not usually a long time. Sometimes it might just be even a few seconds for some who have mastered it so well. You just need that calmness to stay off the course of whatever it is that is bringing about that negative energy, and then switch over to what will give you transition into positivism, into another moment of positive energy. And what that will necessitate will be that you then be able to have control over your vulnerability. And you'll see the kind of articulation you'll be able to have in expressing, even if you have done wrong, you will still be articulate about your defense, you'll be articulate about your presentation, and learn from the process that, yes, I'm wrong about this, right? And I'm willing to learn. You will not be the one that will be under the wings and caprices of people that can now manipulate your vulnerability. So that's the first model, and I hope that you're able to practice this. The second one has to do with polite model. For those of us that are students of the scriptures, we have been reading Bible a lot. You see that the third books in the scriptures in the New Testament was written by Paul. So if I thought you are looking for someone that will have a good command about telling us about what the importance of meditation is, I think it should be that person who has written to third of the entire 27 books in the New Testament. So if you look at the way he wrote to all the people he wrote to, you discover that this man actually understood the power of meditation and he was able to harness it. One of the things I spoke to, which underscore Pauline principle about meditation, has to speak to, the way you understand yourself, whereas the other one speak more to the action you take in building a repository in your mind. This other one talked about your attitude, talks about the way you govern your behavior. And governing your behavior is not situational. It's not something you do when you are in a situation. It's something you would have done. Just again, looking at the principle of fighting warfare, it's something you will have done prepared. And when things happen, you are not caught unawares. You see the reason why many people misbehave, not because they are not wired to be a good person. It's just because they couldn't just help it because they have not prepared. And what you have not prepared, you can't just help the situation. You will always make misjudgments. You're always going to make a wrong assertion. You're always going to make a wrong view about things. So when you're talking about cultivation of good habits, learning, you see, when we talk about lifelong learning, these are part of things that you need to, add to your discipline. It's part of things you need to add to your discipline. That you're able to cultivate good habits, you're going to cultivate the good nature, positive characters that will enable you to have a good control of yourself when you find yourself in a situation. Because what you have learned about good habits, what you have learned about good character, when you find yourself in a situation where you are demanded to make compromise, what will happen is your memory will serve you right. That's what Paul was saying in his own principle about meditation. But if you have not learned, your memory cannot serve you right. So if I see people that misbehave and I tell them that, oh, your memory has failed you, it's not because I'm abusing them, or I tell them, why are you acting as a fool? Or why don't you think twice? Why don't you think well before you do this? Not that, it's just a compliment to let them know that they've not been able to govern or they have not prepared for this kind of situation. And one thing in life is situation will always repeat itself. So it's you that you don't want to repeat the failed decisions that you make on a continuous basis. So let me just marry these two together. Like I said, one speak, to how you govern your behavior because you need to have prepared more and more about the behavior. And the other one speaks to how you prepare your mind, how you create that governing system, for you to be able to help your mind act well when you find yourself in different situations. The word of God is very important. Those positive things that you hear, you rather want to ensure that you don't listen to negative things. You do all those bad songs that doesn't edify, that doesn't add any value. Rather, you might think that you just, is it not just the sound? It's just a matter of time before you start seeing yourself acting in the manner when you find yourself in such situation. That is how the force of life works, the force of nature works. You see, this sound very powerful. And the five sense organs of human beings are what works with meditation. Your sense of hearing, your sense of taste, your sense of touch, feeling, your sense of sight, your eye, all of these things, they work together with forces of nature to enable your system of meditation. Okay, so you need to ensure that you have a total command of this and you don't just leave things to chance, like, okay, things are just going to happen anyhow. But before I move away from here, I want to let you know that it is a personal decision. Okay, it's a personal decision. You either decide to cultivate the habit to meditate or you cultivate the habit not to meditate. And if you cultivate the habit to meditate, it becomes part and parcel of you and not situational. It's not something that it will not be that because you are going through a certain situation, That's why you need to really meditate. Then second, it then becomes part of what is going to govern the progression at which you are cultivating your habit. Like as we have done all the tests, the series of tests we conducted on personality type, when you decide to add the practice of meditation to it, you see how fast you're able to grow in developing those new characters and habits that are going to tend towards helping you to build the real you and channel the energy towards achieving your goals and your purpose. So this is how these things work. And what are part of those good characters we have to think about or we have to start working on? One of it is things that has to do with, you talk about the positive energy in life, justice, truth, all these absolute measures, absolute measures. Truth is absolute in nature. Justice is absolute in nature. Okay. Righteousness is absolute in nature. All these things, they don't have any other way by which you measure them other than there must be a point of reference. You don't say they are subjective. I don't know how many person that will say justice is subjective, if you understand what I mean. I don't know how many people that will say righteousness is subjective. No, it can't be subjective because it's either it is good or bad. That was the dichotomy. It is either it is right or wrong. That's just the dichotomy. It is yes or no. That's the dichotomy. You don't let someone deceive you and think that there is in between. There can't be any in between. It is just the dichotomy, right? It is just the two sides of the divide. Okay. It is either you are moving up or you are moving down. It is either it is upward or downward. There can't be in between movement, right? So you need to understand all these things so that you can begin to embrace the right path for your own personal development. And this will now begin to reflect even in all areas of your life. Remember those dimensions we talk about. These are the ways all these things will now start reflecting. Okay. Finally, if you are to think about whatever situation that you've been unsuccessful in handling it, right? And what I mean by unsuccessful is when you have failed at handling a situation properly, it always leaves a hurt with you. Either it hurt in form of disrespect or devaluation or the reputation. Just think about it, whatever may be the consequence of the hurt, or someone just disregard you, or you just lose an access or something like that, either tangible or intangible. What do you think you would have done better if you have known some of these things I'm saying today? As simple as imagine you are in what's it called now? A temporary situation. You are in I'm trying to just create that weird, terrible situation. Okay, just imagine in your office, your boss, is trying to give you some kind of moment of pressure, stress, because you need to do some deliverables that if care is not taken, failure from both of you can pull the organization down in terms of your numbers. Like the organization can lose clientele. So all hell will be loose on both of you. And of course, if all hell is loose on your boss, it's going to translate to you and can lead to summary dismissal or something like that, or query and all of that. And you know that this is the end game if care is not taken. And it seems you are losing it. If you have found yourself in such situation, knowing this, what do you think you could or you would do differently? Right? How do you think you will address your boss? How do you think you are going to handle the situation in order for you to, even if you end up failing, it's not going to cause hurt to you? Because that is what success means. Success does not mean that you have actually failed. I mean, sorry, you did not fail in making attempts, like we discussed. You fail in making attempt because this is how failure can be revealed. But yet you're able to have a control and command to your own favor. So because of your failure, what could have led to summary dismissal could even result into praise because there's a learning curve. I don't know whether you're following me, you know? What could have led to your disrepute? What could have led to your devaluation? What could have led to your disrespect, disregard, ended up becoming a stepping stone for your recognition, for a double honor. for a promotion, singularly because you are able to handle the situation in spite of the failed attempt. You are able to handle the situation singularly because you're able to handle yourself, and you're able to now undo the outcome of the situation. So this is what mindfulness means. So it's not just someone, you see someone doing the yoga, blah, 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 and all of that. It's just the consequence or the outcome, the resultant effect of that practice as revealed in situation, because they are scenario based. They are scenario based. If I didn't tell you today how my day went and how I was able to make it and still have joy in me, still happy, looking forward to another challenge I'm going to face tomorrow, still solve it and keep, because life is all about that. You keep encountering challenges as you're moving, you are scaling all the hurdles, you are solving problems, moving from one dimension to the other. And the more problem you solve, the more you're going to encounter. So you have to always be prepared. Preparedness is one of the quick wins of meditation. It's going to help you to always be fully prepared, always be ready as a soldier. You are in this world, but you are a soldier, and you are always ready to face any daunting situation. You are fearless, you are audacious, and you are willing to go that mile because you know you have what it takes to overcome whatever situation. So as I am now, over these years, over this journey, I don't think there's any situation that I will not be able to surmount. I don't think there is. I mean, I don't think there is that situation that I will not be able to, with the help of God, not be able to surmount. And I keep building myself. I keep working every now and then, hoping, trusting God with prayers to get better, to keep learning. And the more situation you deal with in different dimensions of your life, the better you discover. And this is what growth means. So I'm trying to, because we are looking at tempo, we are looking at traction. This is how you compare yourself the way you are today in this situation to who you are, or who you were last year or a few years ago. If nothing has changed about the way you handle situation, it's singularly because you have not been able to embrace these models or the act of mindfulness as practiced through meditation. And then you can see a different result. And it's only a fool that will keep doing the same thing the same way and expect a different result. So it's a challenge I'm putting up to you. And that's why I needed to introduce this mindfulness to you, and you adopting meditation as a key way of practice for you to be able to build yourself such a way that you have that capacity, some capacity, any situation you are throwing, even if it means that you're moving away from this location to a new location, is the same. You want to acclimatize with new dimension. You are facing new terrible boss and all of that. This is the way by which you can handle things. And then there won't be anyone that you'll not be able to work with for you to get results and still achieve your success. So I'm going to stop here and ask a question, a comment, a contribution. Maybe there are some things you want to subtract, some things you think you've also been able to practice over the years that have worked for you. I would like us to rub minds and share more about this. How has meditation, if you have really been practicing meditation, how has meditation helped you in building you, or in revealing the real you inside of those hidden you in situations and circumstances? How has the studying and focusing and putting attention in the present, using words, memories, things you've heard, or the kind of new behaviors you have developed, focusing on those things. Just imagine you have not always been a good person, and now you know you're a good person, and something's happening that is showing you that you're not a good person, and you're now focusing on the fact that I'm good. Like I always tell myself, anytime I'm going out, I'm blessed. My going out is blessed, my coming back is blessed. I mean, I tell myself this. So when I get to a situation whereby it's showing me that I'm a bad person, I tell myself I'm blessed. So these have even become like a cliche to me that I have a friend, anytime I'm talking to him, he's always telling me, you also, before I listen to you, tell me I'm blessed. you know, I mean, this thing can just sound so funny, but trust me, these are things that save the day. These are things that save the day. You cannot be agitated over any issue, even if the whole world is collapsing. you can't be agitated because you have control over yourself and you have control over the situation. And the forces of nature, if you remember what I told you, I think 2 weeks ago, and I'm telling you that you will have learned some of these things to a point that things will begin to form shape. Like you're supposed to enter into traffic, but because you have done that meditation so well, you just discover that everything is just clearing for you. Everybody has complained, traffic, da, 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 da. Before you know what is happening, everything is clearing for you. And if it's a necessary experience you need to have for you to be able to learn something, you will go to, and you know that, oh, it's because I need to learn something. That's why I'm going through this, and I must learn it, and I'm coming out. So that is how mindfulness will help you to govern your life and be able to ensure that you are growing at the level, at the tempo, at the level of the traction you need to gain at every point in time. So I'm going to stop here, and let me hear your feedback. Thank you. Mindfulness, meditation. Feedback, comments. I want to believe everybody followed me up to this point. So are there feedbacks? Are there comments?
Thank you, sir, for this session. What I'd like to say is hearing about meditation differently. It, in what I've always thought that meditation to be is different from what I just heard, because you're sharing that with ways we could bring it into our everyday life. Usually I always felt maybe after studying the scriptures, you spend some time reading on it, some hours in the day, you think about it again. But thinking about it, it doesn't make any impact if we don't bring it into our daily experiences. And I think it's something one grows into, that it becomes easy. Like you shared in your story, at the moment you're able to zone out and meditate on some scriptures, even calming your spirit down to be able to hear if the Holy Spirit was speaking to you about anything, for you to know what to do next. So it's an improvement on, or it's an added knowledge on what I had always thought meditation to be. And thank you very much for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you, Favor. Thank you. What you said was what I was also taught and what I have always known all my life up until this moment, that I had to let you understand how I've navigated my life so far. I mean, it's given in Christian religion, they will tell you, oh, you need to read the Bible. All those, the two scriptures I showed you as the two models, they will tell you, always read the Bible. The question I always ask myself, again, as part of growth mindset, you need to question and query. You need to ask questions. And it's not because you are a doubting Thomas. It's not because you are an atheist, right? But in asking question, that is how you can go deeper in knowledge about a subject, right? So I had to ask that question. Is this all that I mean, cram the scripture? I remember growing up, we used to do Bible recitation. You put almost like 30, 40. I got to a point where I was cramming close to about 60, 50, 60 scriptures, So you'll be looking for those short ones. At the time, you have to cram Psalms, because in the Psalm, you can see up to like about 40. I mean, I've done all this, and to what end? I had to move away from just, the religiosity aspect of meditation to the real practice of meditation, because this is where practice of meditation is, when you're able to apply it to scenario, when you're able to see how it applies in scenario. Have you ever asked yourself this question, that how come many religious people who know so much about the scriptures still fail in situations? They misbehave, they misconduct themselves when they are faced with situation, just like examples of things that as simple as even compromise, and they know the scriptures that says they should not compromise. So how come? How come? So the power of meditation has not been fully harnessed in mindfulness. Don't forget, I didn't just say I just tell you that meditation practice is an example. So the whole subject is about mindfulness, because you should be able to use meditation to get full attention and full control of your mind, of yourself, so that you don't misbehave, you don't misconduct, you don't misconstrue situations, but you're able to have full understanding. Full, that FUWL must be a prefix. You must have full understanding about the present. That's when all the things that you have been reading, you have been cramming, all those things, or you have been speaking, all these motivational speakers, they say, yeah, this, that. That's when all those things can make sense. So that's exactly what this models is all about. Thank you. Any other contribution, question? Any other contribution, question?
Yes, sir. I
Which
don't
one?
know. Yes. I don't know how I'm going to put it that to don't be like it is still being religious.
Okay.
You talk of a scenario that happened today, that when the scenario happened, you may start meditating, but in your
Yeah.
meditation, it's some how was it called? How can I put it now? Some passages of the Bible, right? Is that am I correct? So I'm still trying to put this together that meditation still have to go with the religion. I don't know. Do you am thinking about it? I just believe that someone who has started burying himself or herself into the scripture, read it and ponder on it, will be the one that have the ability to meditate right in the right sense and get this peace of mind on whatsoever situation he himself or my friend himself. Now, according to my religion now, we have this verse that say that with the remembrance of a God, of your Lord, that's where you find um that's where you find rest of mind. You find peace, like inner peace, when you keep processing it. So it's like similar to the way it's not that happens today, that when this case happened, you stand by, you relax, then you start reading some part of the scriptures, then which now give you like a kind of rest. Then you came up with something that will cool down, that will cool the situation. This happening. So I'm just tend to look that meditation and all these things see have some parts to that relate with the religion. So that's my take.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you remember when I started, that's why I said I don't want to go deep into world religion, because almost all the world religion has a way by which they align to meditation or mindfulness, kind of. I mean, even the concept of mindfulness in psychology, I mean, when you read how they put it as a body of knowledge to study, it was as a result of Buddhism. I mean, the proponent of mindfulness, theoretical study of mindfulness. I mean, studied Buddhism and then came up with all these Buddhists, the monks' practices and all of that. How they maintain that focus using their own style of meditation. In fact, to the point that this has even resonated more, forgetting that all other world religion, in what just like you just mentioned in your own religion too, which is Islam, you have a way by which you conduct your own meditation. In Christianity, like Favor said, you have the scriptures, you study, you read, you recite, you memorize, you pray over. I mean, everybody has a way by which they conduct their own meditation. And that is what I meant by the Joshua principle, right? That's the Joshua principle. Apart from this Joshua principle, which is you using whatever is the source that you are utilizing, maybe the book by the particular proponent of the religion, or what you have accepted as the authority of that religion. Like in Christianity, our own authority is the Bible, is the infallible word of God. You as a Muslim, you say is the Quran, right? So you can look at all the hadiths and whatever it is and all of that. So there is a depth of conviction, because that's where the difference is. You can be reading those things and there is no depth of conviction, evidential relevance of what you are reading in your life. So it will still make no sense. So when you find yourself in those situations, you won't connect. If you get what I mean, there won't be any connect. So compared to someone like me that have depth of conviction if what I've accepted to be not just a belief system, but a way of life. Because that's the way I tell people, Christianity is a way of life. It's not a religion. If it's a religion, one will keep failing over and over again. Like I told you, have other people practice their own meditation. You get to a situation you can't visualize it. You see people who are even called Christians and they are failing in those situations. They are not being rescued. So because what they are practicing is religiosity, but I'm not practicing religiosity. I've seen it as a way of life, to the point that it forms my mindset. You understand? When I need in a situation, I can easily regurgitate over those words, and they become things that govern my behavior. So that's where the second Pauline now comes in, which now talks about how you cultivate your behavior, right? How you cultivate behavior, because his own principle about meditation is more like whatever it is that you are thinking about, whatever it is that you are reading that is forming your mindset, should be able to translate into the way you behave. You can't be saying that you're a Christian and you know all these things and you are stealing. Just to give an example. So if you find yourself in a situation where you are meant to compromise and steal, now meditation and mindfulness, which now brings to what I just exemplify for you, will now enable you to stay away from it. So that is where the relevance of this practice comes in. So I don't know whether you can see the divide, because this thing is very, very trickish, right? It's very, very trickish. I've read several books about all these things, and each time I counsel people about mindfulness, I don't just put them into the hand of people who have misconstrued the essence of mindfulness. Do you know how powerful this thing has? To the point that when you're going through certain, this thing is just therapeutic in nature. Trust me. You are going through certain conditions medically and all of that. I'm able to connect to this thing. Even when people don't believe in it, you know what has happened to you. This is what happens when you have an experience. People may not believe it. They might even tell you that you're a fanatic, you are this, but you know exactly what has happened to you. So how can you connect and share that mindset to other people? It's almost impossible. Almost impossible, except people now begin to see the traces of the success pathway in you. And that is why when we talked about success yesterday, I told you that it has to be progressive. Sometimes people will not believe in your success until you have gotten to a point where it becomes undeniable and inevitably obvious. I don't know whether you follow me through. Your success must be so pronounced for people to be able to relate with it, must be so pronounced that it becomes impactful in his own sense, right? It's largely impactful in his own sense. That's when people can now relate and then understand that, oh, okay. And that's what happens to so many people. They'll say that they are religious, but no impact. But when that thing translates into the way you govern your behavior in situations, how you allow all these things to become a natural flow out of you, you see that your natural behavior becomes more like what happened in the supernatural. And that's what you see people talk about when they are saying they are doing what's it called now? Buddhism, Judaism, Hinduism, all these other world religion and all of that. I think I saw Bolanli's hand up the other time. You want to share something? You want to share an experience?
Good evening, sir, and good evening, everyone.
Yeah, evening.
You had actually clarified what I wanted to ask about, because I felt like the discussion was tilting towards mindfulness and religion. So I wanted to be a little objective, but then you actually now went deep into clarifying that as to now talking about other religion and where it even came from. So you actually addressed what I wanted to ask about.
I
Hello?
think I lost you. Are you still speaking?
Oh no, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. I said when the discussion was tilting towards mindfulness and religion going like hand in hand, then I wanted to like ask a question about, or I was a little objective about that, and then you now addressed it when you were talking further and about. So I felt like it's more of a belief system. It's what you absorbed yourself into for a very long period of time, and you're being mindful and conscious of that, and then you start acting it out, and then you start reflecting that thing. So it could now be in religion or in a belief system or any other thing you believed in. So you actually now you mentioned it. That's why I lowered my hand and didn't talk about it again.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's like I said, there are wider perspective
Yes.
to the subject, but I tried as much as possible to share what I have adopted as a practice over the years. I wouldn't have just been sharing with you what the entire body of knowledge of mindfulness is all about, showing you the history from Buddhism, how they do it in Confucianism, how they do it in Sikhism. I mean, in almost all the known world religion. I'm sure that you know the what's it called? What's this other one? The gray message, the one that do who, you understand? They too have a way by which they do their own meditation and mindfulness and all of that. So every religion in one way or the other. But I'm telling you that the effect, okay, the effect of the practice in nature. That's why you see whether you're a Muslim, you're a Christian, people still misbehave in spite of all of these things. And why this is not reflecting in fulfillment of purpose, don't forget that's our focus. Remember, when I was talking about mindfulness, mindfulness must be purpose driven, must be something that is focused on purpose. And your purpose should be able to always drive you towards success. So, how then can you now explain a life that is not achieving success, a life that is stagnated, a life that is not impactful? All those things that we've discussed before is because they have not embraced the true nature of this subject. And that is why I will not go into those theoretical things that many people have embraced religiously. No, you can't be dogmatic about the practice of any subject. It has to be not just empirically validated, because that will be science. There are some things that are transcendental, okay, but it must be evidential. I mean, there must be an experiential knowledge by which you can establish some of these things. And that is why I just told you I want to narrow it down to what I have experienced and how I've seen this thing work out. How do you form your behavior? Right? You are now an adult. They say a fool at 40 is a fool forever. How then do you cultivate new behavior on a consistent basis? On a continual basis? How then do you have, in this world that keeps changing with different reorientation on a daily basis, so that one day you won't wake up and say you are now a girl when you are still a boy? That kind of a thing. These are part of the things that mindfulness will help you, because it's a focus on the present in order for you to remain relevant. Okay. Any other thing? Any other
Thank you.
question?
I think
Yeah.
one last thing, please, that I'd like to say is myself as an example, starting from in the course of this session, you spoke about self-awareness, and then and at some point I realized that most times I get distracted so easily, and it's hard for me to like focus on something for a long period of time. Like if I have a subject on my mind I want to focus on, before I know it, my mind drifts a lot and my mind wanders a lot. So I was trying to understand how to control this and how to practice mindfulness. So I started taking walks also. So sometimes when I go for long walks, when I start, I just have something in my mind like, okay, this is what I'm going to focus on, this subject. I'm going to think it through and I'm going to make a decision and this is what I'm going to, like, this is going to be the outcome of my thoughts after this. And then I just like set out on the road. I don't even mind anybody who's looking at me. I just keep on. So that helps me. Like sometimes it helps me if I say, okay, I'm just doing a 30-minute or a 1-hour work and then I'm focusing on the subject. Or I play there's some songs on my phone that just sounds, it helps for focus and for meditation and for mindfulness. It helps me. Sometimes I just go to a place. So for me, I think these are some practical things that helps me to, or maybe I just realize that I'm acting out of line. I'm doing things that naturally I wouldn't do, and I realized I'm saying words that are not even a part of my core or my belief system. So this practice actually helped me to like rethink and then just refine myself and put myself back in order. Thank you.
Excellent. I totally agree with you, because any action that will help you maintain balance, that will help you maintain reading, right, are part of the offshoot of your meditation. Okay, you are able to dissociate yourself from the distracting scenario or situation. Maybe there's a situation that provokes anxiety, anger, and all of that. You're able to step away from it. Not necessarily, unlike some people, they walk away from there. Some, they can still get control. They are there, but they are not there. Like what happened to me? I couldn't have stepped out of the meeting today. You see what I mean? Because that's a scenario, that's a situation. I wouldn't have, it will have amounted to an insult. Everybody, everywhere is tensed up, like fire on the mountain and all of that. Would I have said that it's because I want to go and smoke outside? That's why I'm going outside. I mean, what would be the reason why I had to just, at the heat of the event, step out? Right there, I just had to, sometimes when someone pick up a Rubik, and this is how some other people do their own meditation too, they can just pick up maybe a Rubik cube and start, juggling it or something like that, just for them to be able to have some level of control and focus. But hey, I need to also sound this note of warning, because if you do not validate how effective some of these things are and how they translate into your progressive development, they might become, there's a word I'm looking for now. The impact might just be momentary, right? It may not outlive certain situations. So before you accept something as a principle, make sure that it's something that over a period of time, it has been proven to be productive. It has been proven on a continuous basis, proven to be something that will always deliver result for you. I think that's the right word I'm looking for. So after 20 years, when you still do that same thing, it still deliver result for you. After 50 years, look at some of the principles we apply in physics, some of the principles we apply in biology. People that even develop them, they are dead. I mean, they are dead. They are no more alive. Centuries ago, they are dead. They are no more alive. And those things are still working in people's lives. So they become principles. So that's exactly what I mean. So those things that will form new character in you. As you walk away, you listen to music. Number one, what kind of music you listen to? How does those music that cools your nerve temporarily, how do they inculcate new habit to you, which might be to be temperate. That's temperament. What's it called now? The attributes or the nature or the condition that your mind will now be posed on will be that rather than you being agitated, now you get a full grip of yourself. Or maybe if your own habit will not be that you always do something nasty, like some people will just go and drink to stupor because they couldn't just control themselves. Or some people will just, do something angrily and all of that. Now, because you have been doing that thing consistently, you are getting the full control of yourself. You are getting, so those are the things that you can now form as a pattern, as a principle. So that's exactly what I'm trying to coin around. Thank you. Thank you so much. Utman, I think I should take you last because I saw that you raised up your hand.
Yes, sir. So I was trying to say something outside religiosity. I think
Okay.
Bradley got mentions like that. You get to the tweets. I'm trying to like link this with those people that usually say that these are money. I don't know what they call it. Like usually like every money is this, they have some certain things they say. Like I am great, I am all this successful, all those things, blah 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 like that. Every money
Yeah, they call it positive affirmations.
affirmation. Yes, yes.
Yeah, words of positive affirmations.
I just believe that those people like that too, when they keep saying when they say this every time and unconsciously that's become part of them. It's totally sink into their heart, their mind that it's become it's down their way of being like their own mindfulness. So anything they say, anything they do, those affirmative what they say direct them or lead them to do what is right most of the time, since what they say is a positive affirmative. So I'm trying to link that to mindfulness and meditation in that way. So I don't know if
I
that's
totally, I totally agree with you. As in 100% agree with you, and that has been proven through several experiments. I remember, I think I was in university when I first came across that experiment by Dr. Is it Japanese? Let me see if I can remember. Dr. Masaru Emoto. I don't know if anybody has heard about him before. He's a Japanese scientist, Dr. Masaru Emoto. I will try and dig out the details and share with you so that you can listen to. It talks about the power of positive confession, power of positive words, saying positive words. You see all those positive words that you need to use in order for you to reconfigure human DNA. It also affects water. These forces in nature that I talked to you about, water, the air, wind, and fire, and all of those things. But he carried out an experience on water. He has a particular cup of water or jar of water where, through human thoughts, emotions, and some positive words, they keep speaking into the water, expose it to those things, and the other one that was exposed to the negative thing. They now use microscope after a few days or sometime, they use microscope to check, the what's it called, the structure of the water. You see that the structure of the one with positive words are changed and configured with beautiful crystals, while the one with the negative words that they spoken on also changed, and you see dark crystals and all of that. So all of these things that in one way or the other have been proven, and yes, they have a way by which they also govern people's behavior rightly and all of that, and they channel it through. But hey, this is where the carefulness comes in, because again, fixing it on purpose, because that is where we started this journey, and I don't want us to disconnect all of these principles away from that. It starts all the way from purpose. Do you know your purpose? Right? Do you know what exactly the goals you are set in? The goals you have set for yourself are, right? All of these things are channels by which must be able to lead you eventually to your goal. To your purpose, to the fulfillment of your purpose, wherein you now define, true success progressively. Ouch. I think we should stop here. It's been a wonderful time discussing with everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I will share the assignment so that we'll be able to um, give some of these other narratives. Thank you.
thank you very much, sir. Thank you for the session.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Good night, everyone.
No.